Does anybody else think something weird is going on with this whole Coyote Pass thing? Hi, my name is James, and this is my take on reality. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Kody, Coyote Pass, and the other sister wives. Now, before we get started, I would ask if you're not subscribed to the channel that you consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. It's an easy thing to do. Just hit that subscribe button down below. It helps the channel. It helps me. And hey, who doesn't want to help a brother out? So hit that HBO special down below. And if you're already subscribed, think about sharing the video, maybe liking it, leaving your take down below. I'd appreciate that as well. All right, let's get it. Now, when I talk about Coyote Pass, there's a few things that have always kind of bothered me about Coyote Pass. One of which is that when they first moved from Las Vegas, one of the first properties or big purchases they made out in Arizona in the Flagstaff area was this property, Coyote Pass. In fact, when they originally bought it, they were talking about putting like a big old house there where all the families would kind of live together and congregate and be able to associate with one another. But the wives, wisely so, decided that they were going to break the property down into separate parcels. Now, through a lot of deliberation and a lot of discussions, a lot of arguments, Kody finally settled on 5 lots. Now, when Kody revealed that he was going to break the property down into 5 lots back in the last season, the wives were surprised. I should say all the wives except for it seems like Robyn were surprised. I think that Robyn is tied into a lot of this, acting as the hidden hand for a lot of these property decisions. Now, when Kody revealed that he was going to break the lot down into 5 separate parcels, people will look at it and say, wait a minute, you only have 4 wives. Why would you need 5? Well, as it turns out, Kody wanted to have one of the lots for himself. And the lot he wants to have for himself is one of the lots that's worth the most money, as it would turn out, or valued at the highest because it has a pond on the property. Now, as it sits now, the lot where Kody wants to put his property or his home or particular parcel is actually shared with the lot that Janelle was going to take over. So what they did is they moved Janelle's lot over so that Kody would have the entire pond to himself. Janelle would have a big lot next to the pond, and then of course Robyn would have a combination of the 2 lots that were on the very end. Now, when you look at the ownership of Coyote Pass, it's very striking because a lot of people fall into the mythos of the show where they say, oh, well, you know, Robyn owns 58% of Coyote Pass. Kody's name is on everything, so theoretically he owns 100%, and then it's followed by it's Kody at 100, Robyn at 58, Janelle at like 34, and Meri somewhere down around 12 or something like that. And what a lot of people are forgetting is that Robyn is married to Kody. And of course you guys know that, but the one power that Robyn has by being married to Kody is that her name goes on everything that he purchases. So whether she signs her name to a deed or a parcel or not, because they're married, as second Kody puts his name on a deed for Janelle's property, say, or Meri's property, then Robyn has ownership in that property as well. So it's not just Kody has 100% ownership. Robyn also has 100% ownership of Coyote Pass as well. How does that affect the whole dynamic of everything going on? If you remember, they were going to break the lots down into 4 equal parcels. But Kody came back and he made the executive decision that his first wife, Robyn, was going to get the largest parcel. The second most liked wife is Janelle. That's the one he wasn't having a problem with. She's going to get the second largest parcel. Then the 2 smaller parcels would have been for Christine and Meri. If you think about it, Kody put up a lot of resistance when Janelle was talking about she wanted to move onto the property. For somebody who is so hell-bent on developing on this property and everything is about Coyote Pass and moving forward that, he had a lot of problems for Janelle moving onto the property. He tried to say, oh, it's because of Gabe and Garrison, where they going to stay? My 2 sons, they need a home. Where they going to live at? Oh, they already got apartments. Oh, damn. Whoa. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily want to live in a trailer. Well, Kody, you weren't staying with Janelle anyway. And that was part of the reason why you have a problem with your two sons, Garrison and Gabe. That's why you have a problem with them now, is because you weren't going over to see Janelle and you weren't going over to see them. You also think about it, when she was talking about buying a fifth wheel, he was also concerned that if she bought the fifth wheel, she was going to have more money to invest in a property. Well, James, why do you say that? Because if she would have purchased the home that she was renting, that would be some of her resources being directed to going towards that home. It would have jacked her credit up, because unless, depending on what kind of finances she has and what kind of collateral she's sitting on top of, a bank isn't going to give you a home loan for a home and then give you another home loan so you could build on a property and build a new home. Like, unless you're some kind of real estate investor or something, like, you would have to have something to make that whole deal appealing to the bank. So it's that's very suspect. Or the idea that he says, okay, fine, don't buy the home that you would have to fix up and pour resources into buying and then fixing a home that you don't want when you're trying to build a home at Coyote Pass. Instead of you doing all that, I'd rather you just rent a home. Why don't we just stay renting, and in that way I have a place to stay and I can be comfortable? But that's resources going away from the very thing that you say you want to do. And why is he so pressed about it when he talked about Christine? If you remember last season, when he had talked to the wives about Coyote Pass and he had said that he wanted to have the property with the pond on it, he had said, what if this wife or that wife decides to leave and they want to sell their property? If I own the pond, that way the property will never leave and the pond will always have access to the pond as the family and anybody who stays on Coyote Pass. So he tried to pretend that the wives would have some kind of ownership to where they could actually sell their parcels. But if you look at what happened this season when Christine was talking about selling her home, what's the first thing he said? This is the family's house. This isn't your house. This is our house. How is it y'all's house? Oh, well, we gave you the money, me and Robyn. Whoa. You guys are all family, though. And if anything, Christine has invested in the family for over 20-something years. She doesn't even get severance. She doesn't get a severance package. She's not trying to take you for alimony. She's not trying to sue you. She just wants what's fair and what's right. You said it was her house. That's why you gave it to her. Everybody had their own property and everybody was responsible for their own things. You weren't helping her with the mortgage payments, but all of a sudden it's our house and we should be able to sell that house so that we can invest in a property that we know you're not going to live on. What sense does that make? That goes against the entire principle that he had set forward last season, where he was saying that the wives own their own properties. Clearly you don't, if you can't sell your property and then walk away with the profit. He wanted her to invest in a property she wasn't going to live on. How crazy is that? Like, the fact that he could pass that over his teeth was ridiculous to me. With a straight face, dead ass. Oh yeah, we're going to sell your house and we'll just pay off Coyote Pass. That way Janelle can build her house. You don't care about Janelle building her house because you've been fighting her the whole time. Not to mention your wife sitting up there like Spooky McCreepy on the bench, stalking her. And then she's complaining that, oh yeah, I go out and sit on the property sometime in a lot that would be mine. And I look down and try to look at Janelle's property and I'll never see her. Why don't you, if you were so pressed about seeing Janelle on the property, why wouldn't you call her before you went out there? Just a quick question. That would make sense to me. Call before you haul. You don't just show up anybody's house. Okay, how close you are. It's just out of courtesy and respect. You call, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm coming down. I'm going to be at the property this afternoon. Maybe we could catch up, get some lunch, or we could sit out and have some coffee or whatever. I'm just going to sit on the property for a bit. Love to stop by and chat with you for a minute, if that's cool. How hard is that? But that's not what you're doing. You're keeping an eye on her. Make sure that she's not doing anything crazy like actually having people out. And I think that's what it is. I think she's not just looking for Janelle. She's keeping an eye out to make sure people ain't coming out surveying the land, taking measurements, trying to figure out where they're going to put what and all that. Because Kody is trying to control this property. If you look at how all the wives are situated, let's run through the list. From most hated to most loved and adored. Christine, she's leaving. She's not moving to Coyote Pass. Her share in Coyote Pass, she gifted to the family for $10. So, more to the point, she gifted to Robyn and Kody. They purchased her property for $10 and signed it over to Kody and Robyn. Now, Kody and Robyn own that big swath of land where the pond is and where technically Christine and Meri's houses or plots were supposed to be. Then you go to Meri. He tells Meri, hey Meri, why don't you stay there at the bed and breakfast and don't worry about coming back? What's going to happen to her property at Coyote Pass? If you don't want her to even live in town in a rented house, why in the world would you want her building and being your neighbor on a property? That doesn't make sense. He's going to take Meri's land and Meri's share of Coyote Pass. If you look at Janelle, okay, yeah, he gets along with Janelle, but like I said earlier, he's been trying to stop her and stymie her and frustrate her the entire way when it comes to Coyote Pass. He's trying to keep her butt off of that property. He doesn't want her there. Part of the reason why he might not want her there is because if she's on the land and she's assuming ownership of the land and she becomes attached to the land, it becomes that much harder and that much more difficult for him to pry the deed out of her fingers. And that's where it comes from. He doesn't understand what Janelle's working with. Janelle had already revealed during some of the confessionals that she's all about Coyote Pass. In fact, she has said that if the family wants to move back to Utah, they can go back to Utah by themselves. And Janelle will plan to stay on Coyote Pass by herself. In fact, they could sign the land over to her and she'll take all of it. But Kody has different plans and I'm telling you why. Here's my last big point. And I really want you guys to think about this. Robyn, the favorite wife, I don't think it's disputed by anybody that Robyn is in fact the favorite wife. If anybody says, no, there are no favorites, you haven't watched an episode of this show. Because Robyn is hands down the favorite wife. She's the one who's getting everything. She's the one who's winning. That's why she's all about the family. I'd be about the family too if I was getting everything I wanted. Her and Christine were the only two people who actually purchased homes when they got to Arizona. Christine got her house. She actually bought it for $520. She sold it for $700 just recently. Christine made some good money. She was able to get Kody's name off of it, so it's all her house, all her property, all her profit. Good for you, Christine. Team Christine all the way. But if you look at Robyn, Robyn is sitting in $1 million home. When Kody talks about he doesn't like to be inconvenienced, Robyn makes it comfortable for him, he enjoys going over to Robyn's, there's a reason why he's staying at Robyn's house. Robyn is sitting in $1 million home. She's sitting in $1 million home. So that begs the question, when you go to Coyote Pass, unless he builds her another $1 million home or better on that property, why in the world would she leave her $1 million home to go live in a shack on Coyote Pass out of town? There's no reason for that. The only thing that I can think of is that they plan on building something crazy on that property and they want to turn that property into something that's kind of a spectacle. What would be an example of a huge project that they could do on Coyote Pass that wouldn't involve the wives? Rental properties. If you think about it, when Kody first started talking about separating and getting his own parcel on the land, what he said was, we could use it for family gatherings, or I might throw it as a rental property. And he buried the lead on that one because he's getting the two parcels from prospectively Meri if she leaves, and Christine because she already sold her property to him. He's already got 3 prospective rental properties on the smaller lots. The property where Janelle lives, if he decides to take that property, he could easily turn that into a home for Robyn's kid. Here's a thought. Robyn and Kody have successfully broken down Coyote Pass into 5 individual parcels. How many kids does Robyn have? I thought it was 5. Just saying. Now, a fair question would be, what about the inheritance? That was the whole purpose why you were breaking the properties up, so that the descendants of the wives would have something to inherit. The reality of it, though, is that Kody has already expressed that he wants to cut off the kids as soon as they turn 18. Just watching the show between Christine and Janelle, he's taking his turn telling both of these women that they must kick their children out and their children should be responsible for themselves upon their 18th birthday. The only children that haven't been removed or asked to be removed from the houses were Robyn's kids. But James, what about the fact that he's married to these women and they have multiple decades together building the family? He would point out he only has one wife, and that wife's name is Robyn. I can hear Kody now saying, that's not true. We have spiritual marriages. The reality of it is, Mr. I don't care about paperwork, I hate courts, and I don't want the state involved. The moment Christine said she was going to leave, he didn't just start talking about going the legal route. He started making up legal rights that he has. Then Mr. Marriage licenses are just paperwork that doesn't mean anything, turns right around and insists that he and Christine form a legally binding contract. Furthermore, when Christine talked about moving and wanting to sell her house, the first thing he said was, this is the family's house. It belongs to the family. We get all the proceeds and we can do with the proceeds and profits whatever we want to do. You guys stay tuned. I could be wrong. If you guys think I'm wrong and you think I'm full of bunk, hit me down below with a 2. If you think I'm right, hit me with a number 1. I'm James. This is my take on reality, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.